All right, many thanks for staying with me. When I have this kind of conversations, exclusive conversation, I must emphasize, I don't always approach them from the angle of as an interviews, especially when I sit with ladies and women who carry both influence and responsibility at large. I like to step back, from the politics, step away from all the titles and the trendings that is happening, in Nigeria, and also understand the persona, the people, the persons, behind certain positions. So who they are, who this person is before the spotlight was one of the things that I needed to touch light on before the expectations of the people, before the weight of public life, whether it's supporting their spouses, driving political and economic development within our states, or addressing other relevant issues that may arise naturally from the discussion. So because beyond every title, there's a woman, a mindset, and the mission. And I felt that, this was one conversation I needed to have. Again, I welcome you to another interesting edition of Real Talk with Kiki. I remain your convener, your executive producer, your script writer. I have a balance now with that. Of course, I remain your chief host on this platform. My name remains Atanda-Owo. I think it's better for us to hear what on this day initial segment has for us. When I return, I give my 2 cents on it. Please stay with me. I'll be right back. All right, many thanks for staying with me. My takeaway from on this day initial segment is going back into history on this day in 2010, to be precise. A several dust storm swept across Nigeria, disrupting flights and rising health concerns nationwide, and experts linked it to changing climate patterns and environmental instability. It was a reminder that when a system shifts, whether environmental or social preparedness becomes critical. I'm bringing this back to our space now. I'm asking, are we still prepared in all that we do right now when it comes to climate change? It's something that we all should ponder on while I go on a quick break to get a word from my sponsors. When I return, I dive straight to the issue at hand. Please stay with me. I'll be right back. All right, many thanks for staying with me. Before we step into today's conversation, let me first introduce the woman at the center of this moment. A first lady, yes, but beyond that, she's an entrepreneur, a health advocate, a woman whose work is shaping conversation around lifestyle, wellness, value-driven living. But rather than me tell her story, she has had a seat with her where she was able to throw a lot of light on the story at hand. And let's take a closer look with Excellency Mrs. Nonye Soludo. She's the First Lady of Anambra State, an entrepreneur, like I said earlier, public health and environmental advocate. I think it's important for us to play a guest profile video. I believe that we have a guest profile video. And when I return, okay, I'm being told that that's not ready right now. But, with all of this, I think it's important for us to actually sit down now and watch across all platforms. For those who would like to watch the show, please remember that we're streaming live on Facebook, both on Real Talk with Kike platform and on Silverbird platform, and on YouTube as well. So at this point, I will step back and take you into that moment. But before I do that, let me say this. When I encountered the First Lady of Anambra State, you know, her presence, her calmness was one of the things that captured me about Her Excellency Mrs. Nonye Soludo, because she carries herself with quite elegance, you know, maybe that's the word to use right there, and a composed authority that speaks without effort, you know, and she's so graceful, yet grounded, refined, and yet real, you know, real people who you can actually tell when you see them are one of the things that I look out for when I meet certain people. And there was a calm confidence about her, the kind that doesn't seek attention, but naturally commands respect. She doesn't perform the role, she embodies it, you know, measured, intentional, assured. In that space, you could feel it, you know, when I had a seat with her, and you will see that in this interview. And this is a woman who understands not just the title, she also holds her ground, but the influence that she carries is one of the things that I also adore, with the calmness with it. And allow me to take you into that moment. Let me hold my breath right now. This is an exclusive and in-depth conversation with Her Excellency, the First Lady of Anambra State. Please watch this with me. I'll be right back. Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm so happy and excited to be here. Many thanks for the opportunity to that you've given me for you to lend your voice to the people of Anambra State. But let me start first off to congratulate you again on the victory of the second term with you and His Excellency Professor Charles Soludo. Again, how did you feel standing at Alex Ekwueme Square with many dignitaries? We had former President Obasanjo, you know, Jonathan, the sitting Vice President Shettima, you know, at the place to celebrate the victory with you and your husband. What did it feel like? What was the feeling like? What was the weight, you know, that you felt that you've been able to actually deliver to the communities of Anambra State?
Thank you so much. You're very welcome to Anambra, the light of the nation. Yes, it was actually a mixed feeling, to be honest with you. In the first place, I was so happy, seeing my people very happy. You know, they're quite happy with Mr. Governor for what he has done in 4 years. And as he always said to them, that you ain't seen nothing yet, that still a lot to come. So I saw the joy and I was happy. On the other hand, I was feeling for him because I know, you know, the burden, the work, and you know, catering for 9 to 10 million people with very lean resources. So I was just feeling for him. I was just, you know, feeling for him for what the work ahead. And, but I trust him. I trust him. They call him Alwa Tuegu, which means that he's never afraid of work. So because I know what he can do. So it was actually a mixed feeling, but I was happy.
Feeling for him is quite understandable because you are the closest person to him, honestly, and you know the work that he's putting in the work ahead and all of
night that. And yeah.
So talking about that, Ma, you married Professor Charles Soludo for over almost 34 years in marriage.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So you have seen him as a lecturer, you have seen him as a global economist, you know, you have seen him as the CBN governor, you have seen all the impact of his work, and now a 2-term state governor. You know, I cannot help but ask, you know, many women like you are very rare to find. Let me cite an example of Mrs. Michelle Obama. Yes. You know, I know that she's one woman who has stood strongly behind her husband today. And when people are talking about, you know, Obama as a person, as a past American president, everybody still gives her the credit of the role that she has played. And we all can attest to the fact that you are playing a wonderful role, an impactful role in the life of your husband personally, and of course to the people of Anambra State with his own what's it called, mission to make sure that it continues to impact the people of Anambra State. But I must ask you, because with a woman like you, I'm sure that you must have seen a lot of thread from different angle, different perspective. How are you able to put it together? How do you find that work-life balance?
Yes, one thing is, I'm not a feminist. I believe in the traditional. So, my home, running the home is my number one assignment.
Okay.
Yes, so I give it all, because in a home there must be a head of the home, and I try to manage that. But home, running the home, the children, my husband supporting him is number one thing before the other.
That's a constant thing for you in the marriage?
Yes, yes, that's it. I run lots of businesses, but that's number one for me.
Okay. Well, I like the fact that, you've emphasized on your first call in the marriage, and I think that is very important for many women out there not to lose that guard. Yeah. But let's come back to the educational background, because many times when people see people like you, they tend to forget, the who is who behind the camera. So I would love to touch on that.
Yes.
You have been a computer scientist,
yes.
An entrepreneur with businesses across Nigeria and Europe as well. You are the first lady with a doctorate honoris causa, a niece to late Dr. Dora Akiyuli as well. Yes. I cannot help but touch on that you are just a blessed woman who has also blessed memories from all sides of all round of different sectors of the world. So I must use this opportunity to say that you are actually a big personality, a big fish, if that's the word to use right now. So your husband being a professor, the CBN governor, one of the most educated man that Nigeria has ever produced, if I must say that. But when two strong minds comes together, to share a home, who drives what in the home front? I know that you've emphasized earlier that, your first call, your first primary call is to find stability, and that is your constant role in the home. But how do you find that balance with knowing that these are two intellectuals coming together to drive the home front?
Yes. It's emphasizing on what I've said earlier, that when you come to the home, we must know that there is that, as I said, the traditional, but when love is there, it's easy to navigate. But knowing that there's a head of the family, because there's nothing to drag actually in a home. So it's run perfectly for us. He is very busy. I take care of, I know that the home front must be taken care of. So he is quite busy. Since I married him, it has always been like this. When I married him, he was consulting for loads of international agencies. So I knew that home must be my number one, because, and we've been doing it. And it's been
God be the glory. It's over 24 years.
So well.
Working so well. We can attest to that.
Yes.
And of course, we see the synergy between both of you.
Exactly.
Moving away from that now, from the home front, let me touch on your husband. We cannot have this interview without not bringing him into conversation, because Professor Soludo, made it clear from day one that he will be supporting President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's government. Many people felt like, is that not a cross party? Is in another party? President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is in another party. But he has made us understand what loyalty means when it comes to friendship. And that's what we actually have lost in the corridor of political arena in Nigeria, to be precise, because it seems as if there's no ideology, driving many of them, and it's renewing to see something like that. So in a season where political alignments, can be very tricky now, how can the clarity of purpose, shape the way that you both actually approach this second term without not losing the fact that you belong to a party and still giving that handshake of loyalty to him? What does that partnership mean for you to center everything for the people of Anambra State to benefit more?
Thank you. Yes. My husband and President Tinubu, their friendship It's not hidden at all. They've been friends for over 20 years, and it's been benefiting our people, the friendship. Leave politics by the side. They've been friends, and I deeply, deeply appreciate their friendship, because we are really reaping from their friendship. And I deeply appreciate the First Lady of the Nation, Senator Tinubu. We have a wonderful working experience. She's a great woman. You can't meet her and not fall in love with her. She's been really helping the women, the youth, and the elderly of our states, empowering them.
I know she was here a few months ago. Was it?
No, it's empowerment. She's always sending things. Yes, there are others.
I've seen a few,
on the pipeline. So we are deeply, deeply, the relationship has been wonderful. So they sent quite a whole lot of trailers of things to empower women more. So we are so grateful for what we work together. Like my husband will always say, progressives are working together. So we work together, and it's really benefiting my people.
All right. Many thanks for that insight right there. And I know that, when it comes to empowerment with the people of Anambra State, one of the things I think I admire is the fact that, they teach them how to fish.
Oh, yeah.
It's not about handing out money.
No.
It's about machines. It's about stuff like that, which I feel that the people from our own side need to learn from. But, with what you have just shared now, Ma, the governor has promised to do more. Yeah. And I know that with the support of His Excellency and Our Excellency as well, what does do more actually mean? And in this second term now, I cannot help but touch on it when it comes to more infrastructure, more security, more education, and from an insider perspective, because you have more information regarding that, especially when it comes to empowerment for the women of Anambra State. What does do more look like? What is that one thing that you can say that you are determined to achieve as the First Lady of Anambra State, to make sure that the next 4 years is left undone after when you've looked back on the legacy or the impact that you have made for the people of Anambra State?
Okay, for my husband, do more for him is actually adding, accelerating to whatever he has been doing, on security, human, on health, and everything. Like he said, they're changing to Gear 4. And changing to Gear 4 is like running 1,000 kilometers per hour. That's it. That's what it is, because he said it's an assignment with a deadline, and we just have 4 years to go. And on my own part, it is the same. My primary assignment here is to support my husband, number one. And then with everything I do, taking care of the home, my family, my businesses, and the initiative I do in Anambra. It's something I started 17, 18 years ago. It's about 20 now. Yes, quite a long time ago, I started healthy living. It was Nonye's healthy living all the while. But in Anambra, as an initiative, is healthy living with Nonye Soludo. It's just to continue helping our people with everything to do with healthy living. And I am so glad the way they grab it's a movement in Anambra State. Yeah. Yes. If you go around Anambra State, all the local governments on a Saturday morning, communities that are doing exercise, they love it now. They talk about healthy eating. Our mantra here is eat clean and train dirty. So they know that you need to eat clean. So I will continue pushing it, because for me, health is the greatest wealth.
And I must say, maybe that's the reason why you are looking like a 40-year-old woman, because really, you really don't look 46, I must tell you. You glow differently, honestly. And, beyond the genetics and healthy living that you are promoting, and of course, I see many of your works on socials when it comes to, exercise, community gardening, and all of that. I think you even introduced that to me last year.
I did.
I tried. Really.
I need to see your farm.
No, the farm is in another There's no consistency. I'm trying, but we'll get there because I know that that's also one of the things that the first lady of Nigeria is also big on. Mrs. Remi Tinubu regarding gardening and all of that. So, how do you continually teach people to grow to eat healthy? Because I feel that that's one of the things that we need to actually advocate more for. I think that science, is teaching us otherwise. Meanwhile, there is solutions to the food that we eat that can make us find a balance to our lifestyle. So even from farming, right from the government house that you're doing, why is it so important for you as the first lady of Anambra State to say that, you know what, you must dirty your hands? What message does that send to the average Anambra woman out there?
Yes, thank you. Yes, it's just taking our people back to our roots. We've forgotten about. Before, everybody, this backyard garden, it's just in everybody's home. You come back, you want to eat, you go to your garden, pick, cut vegetables, okra, and other things. Your pepper is there, everything. But now people are so busy. So I want to take people back to our roots. Now our future is now in our past. Most of our future is. So you really want to get people to know how to eat healthy, because that's most of the problems we have now in terms of
the choices of our food.
It is. You are what you eat. You are what you eat. If you don't eat where you're eating rubbish, you kept getting sick. Like I gave people the example the other day. You have a place you dump refuge. Every day you go there. Oh, you say, oh my God, so many rats here. You go there, kill them, put insecticide, they will die. Tomorrow they will come back again because the rubbish is still there. But if you clean up the place, make sure there is nothing there, you won't see them anymore. And that's the same thing I tell people about our health. Once you're clean, but if you're eating rubbish, you get sick, you take medicine and mask whatever problem you have. Tomorrow it will surface again. So healthy living is the way to go.
Well, I agree with you, but you know that most of the infrastructure in other states does not actually allow people to have that garden now. I know Mrs. Remi Tinubu actually promoted, there's no excuse, get a plastic and put your stuff together.
Even bags.
And all of that.
Bags.
Even bags.
Yes. But cement bags and so on. You even do better with those ones. Because if you have some bags, 10 bags, behind your kitchen or wherever, put your vegetables, scent leaf, pepper, bell peppers, and it's easy to water them in the bags so they can grow all year round.
Obviously,
so there's no excuse.
Obviously, this healthy living is truly a movement for someone like you. And yes, while I'm appreciative of that, because I've learned something from me since a year ago that our path have crossed. But I know that there's another thing that you've also constantly promoted that I've seen on social, which is the sanitary pad for women. I feel that that has taught a lot of women so many things, and many organizations today are actually now picking on it because they now understand what affects women, from the girl child to where we are at the moment. How do we constantly tell that story in a way that will not, be forgotten? Because we have a culture in Nigeria that after a while, it seems to just be at the back of our minds.
Yes. For me, we started the pad banks in schools, and hopefully it will continue. I will continue doing that because I know what girls go through. When you have that emergency in school, the whole of the day you're
it's messed up.
You can't even concentrate again. So we set up some things like what we call pad bank in all secondary schools, girls' secondary schools, even mixed schools, so that if you have that emergency, you can go to your coordinator, because we have healthy living coordinator in all schools, and to request. And some girls can't even afford to buy pads. They're quite expensive, so they use very unhygienic things, which will develop into more problems. So that's why we set it up in school, and I hope to continue that. hope to continue.
All right, many thanks for that insight right there. So let me touch on motherhood. I know that you've been so big on, this is my role, finding balance, being there for my husband, for my children. Thus far, it shows that I don't want to lose focus of that. That's my primary assignment. So I must ask you right now, because you have 6 children.
Yes.
Correct, yes. And I understand that most of them reside in England, if I'm right.
Yes.
So for a mother, I feel distance is distance, regardless of how much you want to show up for them. It doesn't matter how old the child is. It doesn't matter whether the child is married, have started their own lives and all of that. How do you manage that balance, making sure that you are present in the lives of all the children? How do you stay present in the lives of these children, particularly even the ones that you think are no longer under your roof, in a way that I feel that, many times the society wants to draw negativity from certain conversation to create distraction of negativity for someone like you who stays focused on your primary goal. So what is that for you as a mother?
Yeah, thank you. For me, as a mother, as I said, I have 6 children. And when they were small, like I said earlier, my family is number 1 for me. Number 1, 2, 3 even for me. So when they were young, I was running my business then, but I would leave the house with them in the morning, drop them off in school, then come back and get and to my office. 3 o'clock, I'm done. Whatever happens, I'll pick them, go back home, and it was them. I am only in the office when they were in school. So now they are all grown, apart from my last 2 years, and I still give them my all. I come back to Anambra, do a whole lot. They jam-pack my program for me in a month. I try to, juggle everything, and then back to UK where they are. So I'm here and there, but I give the family everything. Yeah, coming to when they're adults. If you're under my roof, yes, you follow. But when they're adults and they're on their own, they're on their own. And one thing with my children is that one thing with us is that we let them be. Have that you are an adult now, so it's your life and so on. But for me, family is everything. Is everything.
I think the reason why you can speak confidently about this is because of the values that you have imbibed in there, because you've constantly spoken about family values not being, eroded, and all of that. So about mothers now needing to return to the basics. Many women out there, have actually, the roles are reversed. Let's keep it real. Many women are actually the ones holding the home front, and they've forgotten that role of that woman touch in raising the child. You have not lost the focus. I would like us to throw a lot of emphasis on that in terms of you running your businesses and still managing the household and serving an entire state of the Anambra women. How do you define presence for, as a mother, that embodies so much, and many are looking for a piece of you right now, or they want a piece of you? How do you find that balance? What does that presence mean to you? Making sure that everything is well taken care of and not losing yourself as a mother.
Yes, thank you so much. The good thing is that God created women in a very special way. We can multitask. We are very blessed, very strong, very calm when we are dealing with problems. So I think God planned, created us for this time we are now. So a woman can really, if you organize yourself very well, which I tell anytime I'm with Anambra women, I tell them these children should be your number 1. And another thing is, we should go back to, this communal living. Communal living. A child is for it's not only yours. The
village raises a child.
Yes. But now we don't care anymore. You see your neighbor's child misbehaving, you'll be like, what's my own
business?
What's my business? But no, we are learning from the white people, the Western world. They are different. Because at the end of the day, you go back to their community, maybe during Christmas or Easter, and you still meet this child, and you'll be a terror to the whole community. But the Western world, my daughter can, from London, go to Scotland, buy a house. So, I'm from Scotland, my mom is from London. There's no attachment. So I tell our people, we must be our brother's keeper. If you see your neighbor's child misbehaving, talk to the child and tell the mom. It's different now these days, sometimes they said, if you tell them, they will be like, go and train your own. I say, yeah, continue saying. Even if she said, go and train your own, deep down, she will be chewing whatever you told her. So that communal living, and it's one of the things we are achieving from healthy living, this exercise thing every Saturday in all communities. That's one of one thing we are achieving. Because after exercise, we bring out fruits, communities, people from a particular community, you sit down and talk to your neighbors because everybody is busy. As you said, women are busy. Now is the
roles
one
are
person
reversed.
Exactly. One person, only the man can't do it all. So, but we must know that these children, if we don't catch them young, we'll regret it later, and we will really regret it later.
Okay, I think this leads me to my next question, because it's still Women's Month. This is the month of March, and I know that this month, from the beginning to the end of it, they continually celebrate women. Some men have issues with that; they should deal with us, So, but this year's theme was "Give to Gain." Honestly, I particularly have an issue with that theme this year, if I'm going to be very transparent with this interview, because I had a lot of discomfort with the word "give to gain." And where am I coming from? I feel that women have been giving all their life since we've been birthed. Since our birth, we've been giving. We give our bodies to motherhood, our sleep to child upbringing, our energy to the community at large. Look at all the things that you've been talking about us. It's about giving and giving and giving and giving. So in my head, I'm like, at what point do women actually start receiving? At what point do men actually understand also that role that we play that seems to be seamless, but yet is stretching us? What's your honest opinion with the theme "Give to Gain" this year?
Okay. Yes. Okay. Coming to what you think about it is, I think we gain love from our husbands and children, but I think the give to gain, the way I interpret it, is giving to the society. Is giving to women. That's training,
Mentorship.
education, mentorship to women to give. And I always advise, when you give to a woman, the family benefits. When you give to a woman, the community benefits. So I was seeing it from the other perspective, giving to women, educating
The woman.
The woman, empowering, uplifting our women, and give a woman, empower, uplift a woman, the whole community will gain. So that's the way I saw the timber. I looked at the timber, and I think we'll continue giving women, empowering them, because they're wonderful.
But what message do you have for the men out there regarding them actually also giving to women? Because I know that also recently you launched a plan about skills acquisition, where I feel that the type of skill acquisition program that you've launched for women is a male-dominated trade, which I like, though, because I feel that there's so many things that women are doing now that is mainly macho. So why not the use of sewing machines, catering, why push women into spaces men have already claimed? Men are trying to say, no, this is my space. What's your thinking behind it? Understanding that we must communicate to the men to also give to us so that we can actually find a renewed spirit?
Thank you. That's the project. Okay, we just launched last week. Yes. So why confine our women to that particular area?
To the kitchen?
No, why? We've broken barriers. Women are, we are doing so well up there.
And so much.
So well up there. We fly airplanes now. The other day, my husband traveled and came and said, oh, the captain was a woman. And the flight was so smooth. I said, yes. Because when a woman is doing something, you will know. So why confine them to that? So we actually try to do that, to empower them more, to their confidence. Go to UK, these double-decker buses have the most of their drivers now women, and they're doing it so well. And one thing with women is that when they want to do something,
when we set our mind to something,
they will do it so well, and they will finish, go back again to make sure that all the T's are well crossed and all the I's are well dotted. So that's why I want them to get into that so that we'll get the best. Yes. That's why we are there.
That's why we are here. And I believe that these men cannot do without us.
No. They can't do without us. There can't be any world without us.
All right, man. Many thanks again for all your submission thus far. So away from your lifestyle, the empowerment that you do for the people of Anambra State, I would like to touch on Professor Soludo, taking us back again to him, because he's known to be very intense. Yes. He's known to be an intellectual, he's intellectually driven at home. When the cameras are off and it's just the two of you, who is he? Who is Professor Soludo? Many times I'm trying to wonder, what side of him does the public never get to see that you are privileged to, because you are the significant of that?
Yes, thank you. Yes. Soludo, one thing with him, he's almost a perfectionist. He's a perfectionist, let me put it that way. When he walks, he walks. When he plays, he plays. He's a different person at home. He's a very sweet daddy, husband at home. Like, when he's home,
I wish you could just walk in here and just show us.
He does all, at home. Like when he comes to London now, the shopping, the home shopping, he does it. He loves
he's a very
driving around. Exactly. Takes the kids to shops, to shop for them and everything. Like when my baby there was something that happened. I said to myself, I took her, I think there's something she's supposed to buy from school. So I took her to Toys R Us to buy it. And she was shocked. So, Mommy, this, the way to this place. Because it was only the daddy. Each time he comes, he will take them to Toys R Us to buy. So when I took her, so, the way to this place. I said, oh my God. So he's that way. He's a different person. But,
Interesting. Someone like him, I can relate that it will be
at home is
interesting to know. So, okay, looking forward to 2030 now, because time flies.
I know.
The second term is already counting down, however we look at it. Exactly. I know the people of Anambra State will miss the touch of your husband and yourself. Yes. But when the term ends with your husband, handing over, what do you hope that the people of, the women of Anambra State will say about Nonye Soludo? I feel that it's very important for me to ask you this question, because many times we tend to forget the legacy we want to leave there. What do you want to be remembered for? What sentences do you want etched or engraved, maybe that's the word, in the memory of the people of Anambra State?
To be honest, whatever I do, I don't really look at how I will be remembered. I am not a politician. My husband is the governor. So I think he is the governor of Anambra said that I am just here to support him, to make him succeed. I mean, that's basically what I'm doing here. Yes, I push my initiative, to help women, to help children, the elderly. And my joy is that every day I see the initiative helping people. I hear people's testimonies.
So mainly it's about impact for you.
The impact.
You just want to impact life.
I just want to impact life. I just want to impact life. You see people, the testimonies you get every day, that's my joy. Yeah.
And truly, many people out there can actually testify to that.
Yes.
But, one of the questions that just dropped in my mind now, listening to you, because many times women in your position struggle a lot in terms of navigating attacks in the public space, where young people who find themselves quickly in this position cannot navigate. So for those who are watching us right now, I would love you to say a word to them regarding how to handle public criticism, when to speak, when to stay silent, when not to speak. What advice would you give to people like women who are looking up to you? Because you are one woman who I can say that you have carried your world thus far with grace. What's your message for them?
For people, first of all, if you're in public place, just keep your eyes on the ball. You don't need any distraction. Once you get distracted by what people say out there, you will lose the momentum. Keep your eye on the ball and then pursue what you want to do. And for women, it's just to be yourself. Be yourself. And that's basically it. Be yourself. Don't look at social media as, for me, you can get 1%, 99% false life out there. So be yourself, be focused, know what you want for yourself, and go out for it. That's basically it.
Okay, many thanks for that. So let me restructure this question again to close this interview, because there's one thing that I feel that you must boldly tell every woman, not just in Anambra State, but across the world, regarding owning our voice.
Okay.
I think many times, women tend to, feel small in the presence of, or in the space that they are. How do they constantly claim that space in a calmly manner, navigating this thing called life? What's your last word for them? How should they navigate the world life with their presence and not losing their voices?
First of all, thank you. My number one advice, as I said, every woman should be themselves. Because what I see now is that some women are there. You see a woman now, you ask her, oh, I'm a feminist. You use yourself, produces herself as a feminist.
Do you have a problem with the word feminist?
Sometimes the way they put it out there is wrong.
The action behind
yes,
feminism.
They feel there's a competition going out
with
there.
The men.
Just be yourself. Yes. So I always, like I was talking to some of them yesterday, just be yourself. Concentrate on improving yourself every day. There's no competition. We complement each other.
True.
That's how you say it. Because the way I say it now is that they set out, they feel there's a competition, there's a fight. Even going into marriages now, they feel, oh, there's a fight. Before even getting in there, we complement each other. There's no competition. Invest in yourself, improving yourself. And that's what I would advise every woman. And to know that what they see on social media, there's no real life there. Because a lot of our children, a lot of young girls go online to see my fellow girls, see where we are. is just be yourself and concentrate on improving yourself on a daily basis.
All right, many thanks for all your insight and information thus far.
Thank you so much.
You know, and of course, creating time to do this with me. Again, I've been opportune to sit with the First Lady of Anambra State, Mrs. Nonye Soludo. And this interview is not just an ordinary interview. It's an interview that speaks about the wings and the weight that she carries with the people of Anambra State. Let's go on a quick break now. And when I return, the conversation will continue. Please stay with me. I'll be right back. All right, many thanks for staying with me. Invest in yourself, improving yourself. More importantly, be yourself were the last words of Her Excellency, the First Lady of Anambra State, Mrs. Nonye Soludo. And one thing is clear, that this is a woman who understands that influence is not in the title, it's in the impact. If this interview has shown us anything, it just means that there's beyond every title, there is a responsibility towards, you know, the work-life balance, and beyond every position, there must be a purpose. I want to use this medium again to say many thanks to Excellency, the First Lady of Anambra State, for giving me the opportunity, the time to have this conversation with her, and wish her the very best as she continues to navigate the waters of the future with the Anambra people and the women. On this note, this is where I try to, let's see if we can catch up with the last segment of the show, which is the trending, you know. And before I wrap up, I think it's important for us to take a closer look at the stories shaping our society in Nigeria, the conversation, the patterns, the issues we cannot ignore, and more importantly, an opportunity for me to lend my own voice on the issue at hand. The first one I'd like to touch on right now is the rising fuel prices and Middle East conflict. And this is the second ongoing issue I have had to deal with in these past 2 weeks, you know, as a result of the Middle East crisis and the war involving Iran and the United States. And considering the pain, you know, people go through daily just to afford, you know, fuel and move around in traffic, one would be quick to criticize and castigate those at the ends of affairs, those in position of power and decision making. It's easy, you know, for us to ask, why should an external crisis far away in the Middle East affect Nigerians here in Africa? But this is Real Talk with Kike. I try as much as possible to make my submissions informed and educative. I do not engage in bandwagon journalism. This is why I took time to just speak with experts who understands how the petroleum sector works and how international prices affect local fuel pricing. Having said that, you know, here is the key point, you know, in terms of petrol pricing in Nigeria, that is no longer controlled by government subsidies. It is now market driven. And once a market is deregulated, it means that even the Dangote refinery must price petrol based on global crude oil costs, exchange rates, operational expenses. This means that petrol prices in Nigeria are still largely influenced by external factors. However we look at it, the global crude prices, foreign exchange, you know, foreign exchange rates, and imported inflation, you know. So what does this mean for Nigerians is the question I'm asking in pain. The first impact is higher than fuel prices, you know, because if petrol moves from 1,000 to 1,175 to 1,245 per litre at the depot, it translates to about 1,330 to 1,004 at the pump. That difference reflects markets or marketers' margins and distribution costs. The second impact for me is inflation. Transport cost goes up immediately. For example, a 1,000 daily transport fare can rise to 1,200. 1,300. Businesses will also increase prices to cover logistics and operational costs. So now, what is concerning us, or should be concerning us, is that when government continues to sign long-term deals and take on loans that for future generations that will pay, it's not enough attention that is is being given to Nigerians who are living and struggling today in the daily lives. You know, sometimes we lose our priorities. We focus on things that are not of immediate concern, while people are facing these daily economic ashes or pressures. You know, we all know that the ripple effect of rising fuel prices, everything goes up. Food commodities, operational costs, productions, you know, overall cost of living. It's painful, but it's the reality. Petrol prices is not fully controlled locally. It is influenced by exchange rates and global oil market shocks. Unfortunately, we have not completely freed ourselves from, you know, those external pressures. So at least this is the fact that we are not mute to, mute rather to global and outside border shocks. And I think this one should guide us further in how we take this. You know, let me quickly touch on the second trending because of time. You know, and the second trending for me is the Ozoro Festival and the crowd rape incident. And honestly, watching that video is really depressing. I feel there's hardly anything positive to speak about. Out of every 10 events, you know, I come on this platform every day. I will only find one or two that is uplifting our country, Nigeria. And it is so sad. It's very depressing. I keep talking about trending issues, you know, and give my editorial take on the issue at hand. But yet, we are constantly confronted with different kinds of dilemmas and crises in our society. You know, I mean, where on earth is this done in 2026? This is unbelievable. The level of barbarity and what can be described as moral decay, you know, seen in that video is frightening for me. It speaks poorly of our tradition and is a major setback for civilization. When you see a group of youths ganging up and assaulting a female, it is even painful to talk about it right now for me. Is this the generation that Nigeria wants to depend on? Is this the future that we are looking up to? Children in other parts of the world who have not even reached adolescents are showing more promise than, you know, grown adults who display nothing but a wasted mentality with no sense of awareness about sexual health or diseases that could be transmitted through such acts. It shows the level of education and awareness in our country, in our society. I'm deeply pained because this happened in Delta State, a place I have roots through my birth mother. It hurts me that, you know, to be associated with such acts. The village, you know, the village heads and traditional leaders in that community should be held accountable for allowing such inhumane acts to occur. There should also be consequences for parents who fail to raise their children properly. One parent cannot put in effort and sleepless night and hard work to raise a responsible child, while another is careless, raising children who become nuisance and danger to society. This is 2026. If justice cannot be directly served on the youth who committed this crime because it was carried out by mob, then accountability must still be enforced. Community leaders must be held responsible. Those are the same leaders who benefit during elections, receiving incentives from politicians. They must also answer when things go wrong in that community. I do not understand how any community can stay calm and claim leadership and still allow such acts to happen. Treating women as victims of gang assault, it is absolutely unimaginable. This should not be happening in 2026. I emphasize again. Something has to be done. People must be brought to books. Otherwise, this level of moral decadence, you know, will continue to spread as others beginning to copy such behavior. This is unacceptable. The government needs to act fast. I don't know what else to say, but it's so sad. It's so sad that something like this is happening. On this note, unfortunately, this is where I draw the curtains of the show. Till I come your way next on Thursday, please remain kind and stay safe. My name remains Kikelomo Atanda-Owo Abati. Bye now.